We will mainly talk about the fourth generation Land Rover Discovery, because in fact it is a deep modernization of the third, as a result of which the shortcomings identified in the first 5 years of production were eliminated. I don't know if it's worth describing the model and its history from the beginning of time, but maybe not everyone knows it. So, the first official shows of the third generation took place in 2004, and to say that they made a splash means to say nothing. The public was outraged. And what? An integrated frame, without imagining what it is. Independent suspension, forgetting about the outstanding capabilities of the Range Rover. And also a V-shaped diesel engine, the inability to make any serious elevator. And in general, just in case, as it always happens with the generational change. At the same time, few people noticed the appearance of the next, fourth, in general, including those who 5 years earlier were outraged by the third. In 2005, one 2.7-liter diesel and 2 gasoline engines were installed on the D3, 4.0 liters and 4.4 liters. Most of them had a 6-speed automatic transmission. The mechanics got only on commercial and the simplest versions. The suspension was not always air. It was possible to order a version with springs. By the way, the spring Land Rover with the mechanical 5 motor became a torment on the road. Land Rover experience instructors frankly said that this was not the best option and was not advised to take it. Well, in general, it must be admitted that the car had, if not a wagon, then certainly a rather big cart. And in mechanics, and in electrics with electronics, and for the first time in pneumatics. In 2008, the company embarked on a radical improvement in quality, and in the autumn spoke about plans for 2009. Among other things, a separate line in them was Discovery 4. The updated Discovery received 3 engines, the well-known International, and in fact the Ford diesel V6 with a volume of 2,720 cubic centimeters, which received a proper name when it appeared, Lion, its upgraded version with a working volume of 2,992 cubic centimeters, and a magnificent 5.0-liter 8, in fact, from the Ford Mustang. But after restyling in 2013, the 2.7-liter, in which the public lost all interest, was removed from the engine line. Of course, the main question is, what is the probability of getting into the worst trouble inherent in this diesel engine? We are talking about cranking the crankshaft liners with its probable breakage. Statistics say that the number of such cases does not exceed 5%. Do you think it's a little? But no. Every 20th owner who managed to leave the warranty period runs the risk of getting repaired, comparable in cost to the new UAZ Hunter. Moreover, in the service of the official dealership, the engine will be changed entirely, and in the club and specialized ones, most likely, only the short block will be replaced, that is, the cylinder piston group and the crankcase with the crankshaft. This is not always profitable, given the fact that a contract motor costs a little more than a block, and in any case, repairs are unlikely to cost less than $500,000. And this, I'll remind you, every 20th. True, they say that if you somehow manage to drive 250 to 300,000, then, most likely, such a breakdown no longer threatens you and you are not at risk. We are talking about the 3.0 TDV6 engine. I repeat, it is very good, economical, fast, and traction. In addition, it is devoid of many problem areas. The USR valve does not bother. The glow plugs do not burn out every 6 months. The injection pump is quite reliable. But there are things that should not be forgotten. For example, drive belts. The timing belt, injection pump belts and attachments, along with the rollers, must be changed, which will cost about $70,000 with work for officials and $50,000 for just specialized ones. Periodicity, $120,000. On Discovery, they don't roll back the mileage so often, but still it's better not to risk it. But what can overshadow the cloudless possession of an SUV is a problem with the turbocharger control system. A system with 2 Garrett brand turbines operating in series was installed on a 3.0-liter diesel engine. At the same time, one of them is with variable geometry, and its control mechanism sometimes fails. The cost of replacement with work is 120 to 145,000 rubles, depending on where to do it and whether it is necessary to change the bypass valve, which is also not cheap, 12 to 15,000. The problem with the extrusion of the front oil seal was solved at the factory by replacing the oil pump, which was not only equipped with a new cover, but also made more productive. By the way, it is also strongly recommended to the owners of Discovery 3. Until 2013, the Discovery 4, as well as the 3, as well as the previous generation Range Rover Sport and even the Range Rover, had a very good 6-speed ZF transmission. Reliable, durable, perfectly adapted to repair, this box rarely upset the owners with sudden failures. The main malfunctions related to the torque converter, and even then with the 2.7-liter engine. The problem with the sagging sleeve of the clutch package of higher gears is more typical for the D3 car, and after the 2009 upgrade it almost never occurs. In case of drowning in a deep Ford and other global problems, one must be prepared to pay about 130 to 140,000 rubles for the overhaul of the box, or 500,000 for the replacement of the assembly. After 2013, the 6-speed transmission was replaced with an 8-speed one, also quite reliable and durable, also from ZF. In general, change the oil every 60,000 kilometers. Do not forget that this is a family station wagon, not a WRXT, and everything will be in order. To damage the cardans and gearboxes, you need to try hard, but the transfer case sometimes requires attention. Due to wear and tear, it is often necessary to change the rear drive shaft, especially on gasoline versions. And in the rear gearbox there is a motor for driving the rear differential lock actuator. With work comes out 40,000. The transfer case flows along the joint, which is eliminated with the sealant without any problems. During hard off-road operation, the chain stretches in the transfer case. This is rare, but it happens. A rumble can appear both in the gearboxes and in the transfer case, as a rule, with runs over 200,000. Bearings are buzzing, which are changed along with the flange at official services. The replacement of the gearbox assembly is estimated at 160 to 180,000 rubles. Until recently, Land Rover air suspension scared children, and now it is recognized as the most reliable of the existing ones. It still needs to be maintained and repaired, but more often it concerns various kinds of hinges, and not the pneumatic chambers themselves. Moreover, the front suspension requires attention more often, especially the lower arm bushing, often the rear, and the ball joint. They do not cost too much. A ball joint, about 3,000 rubles, a bushing, about 1,500. The ball joint of the upper front arm needs to be replaced twice less often, and its silent blocks even go 300 to 400,000 kilometers. If you install significantly larger wheels, relative to those recommended by the factory, the front hubs, or rather their bearings, will quickly fail. It doesn't matter, since the whole assembly is still to be changed, but it costs 13 to 15,000 rubles apiece. Diagnosis of the state of the bushings is done at the smallest possible speed by pressing the brake pedal. The squeaks in the front are most likely talking about faulty silence of the lower arm. In the back, fastening the fist to the levers. The rear suspension stabilizer has one unpleasant feature. It is attached to the frame from above and sticks tightly. It is difficult to get these points from below, and it is almost impossible to unscrew the rusted bolts. But this is easy to do with the body removed, a popular service operation for access to the motor and transmission. Perhaps you want to know about air springs? Believe me, it's boring. They are reliable, and the front ones usually last 150 to 200,000 kilometers, and the rear ones do not seem to wear out at all. It is only important to monitor the safety of their covers and sometimes wash the front ones at the sink. The pneumatic system is generally tenacious, and even the pump, which used to cause a lot of problems for the owners, is extremely durable. That is, everything that you heard about the fragility of the suspension and that could have at least some basis, refers to the Range Rover 3 of the early years and does not apply to the LR Discovery. The choice of used Discovery 4 on the Russian market is rich. There are both petrol and diesel versions. In 2013, the 3.0 V6 engine was divided into two, TDV6 and SDV6, which differ in power. There are no noticeable differences in the resource. At the same time, the transmission was changed to an 8-speed, with a washer, and terrain response was changed to the second generation. The main thing is that both real owners and admirers equally note that there are no more cars like Discovery 3 and 4. They are a legend that, fortunately, you can still buy.